St. Kitts was actually way more fun than I expected. I didn't have a real plan when getting onto this island. I didn't book an excursion or anything. I figured I'd pretty much just wing it, and thankfully it worked out. When getting to the port in St. Kitts, it's about a 5-minute walk from the cruise ship to the port. They do have a little train sort of taxi-like service. It does cost about $1, but I decided just to walk. Once you're in port, it feels like a pretty standard cruise port. Lots of colorful buildings, plenty of places to buy souvenirs if you'd like. The one thing that did actually catch me off guard is that there are a bunch of vendors walking around with baby monkeys. This was probably one of the happiest moments in my entire life. I've held a monkey before. I actually did it on my previous cruise on Roatan, which was great, but I've never held one so small. Do be careful though, because they will hand you the monkeys, let you take photos, then they will ask you for how much money they want. They did want $10 per person, at least the vendor that handed me mine. We did manage to knock him down to $15 for 2, but just a warning in case you don't want to pay for photos. For me though, I do think it was worth every single penny because he was so cute and he was wearing a diaper and just, oh my god, the softest little feet. I would hold the monkey, but it is just a heads up. There are also a lot of performers walking around. Occasionally from time to time you'll see some sort of a dance show, which I thought was a lot of fun. If you didn't book a tour like I did, there are plenty of vendors also in the port selling inexpensive tours. We decided to book an open air bus tour that drove us around the island for $20 a person. However, it is a good thing to note that the first price that they gave us was $25. Even if that sounds cheap to you, I would always recommend haggling, just because usually the first price they're asking for is what they're hoping for, but they're pretty much always willing to go down. The tour also did include drinks, so to me it was a really good deal. Going on a tour or not, what are some things that you can do in St. Kitts? The first thing that I would recommend is Independence Square. It's honestly not that far from the cruise port, and it was named on the occasion of St. Kitts and Nevis achieving political independence from the United Kingdom back on September 19th, 1983. It's also the original site of where slave auctions were held on the island, but slavery was abolished there in 1834. Sadly, we did just drive by this. However, it was really powerful knowing the history of the area. The Timothy Hill overlook is probably one of the most beautiful things I have seen in the Caribbean. It's an incredible view of both the Atlantic and the Caribbean oceans coming together. This is one of those places in the world where you just kind of stop and stare because you're amazed by its awe. If there's only one thing you do on this island, I highly recommend it's coming to the Timothy Hill overlook because it is just breathtaking. The Wingfield Estate Sugar Plantation Ruins is a pretty cool other thing to see. Wingfield was actually the first land grant in the English West Indies in 1625. The plantation grew sugarcane over 350 years into the mid-2000s. In 2013, the original rum distillery was discovered on the property and is dated back to 1681, but it's actually believed to be older. It is recognized as the oldest intact distillery in the Caribbean. Near the ruins are also a bunch of vendors. We picked up some grilled chicken and a homemade mango barbecue sauce. It was so delicious. I was actually really surprised that there was a really good balance of sweetness. Sometimes I think fruit-infused barbecue sauces can be way overpowering. And it was only $8 with corn and bread. Though a little bit more on the sad side, Bloody Point is an interesting place to see. The area is just off of Challenger's Village. It gets its name from the massacre of the Kalinaga, which took place during the colonization of the island between the English and the French settlers. On a happier note, you can go to the beach. On the last stop on our tour, they dropped us off at Carambola Beach Club. We stayed there for about an hour. It was really nice. You can rent a chair if you so choose. However, you absolutely don't have to. They will let you just put a towel down on the beach. As always, I do think you should be trying the local food whenever you visit somewhere. In addition to the grilled chicken, we also stopped at a food vendor back in port in a food court at a spot called Island Time. I told the worker that I wanted the most St. Kitts thing on the menu, and she recommended the stew saltfish. It was definitely unique. The fish had a lot of bones in it, which kind of made it difficult to eat. I did, however, really like the coconut dumplings that it came with. I really liked St. Kitts, and I think it was probably my favorite stop on this entire cruise. It also was the only new island on the entire itinerary, so I might be a little biased and that might play a part. If you would like even more recommendations for what to do on St. Kitts, you can check out my blog post. I'll put the link in the description below. If you found this helpful, please comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! Slow down.